everyone, it's Annette with ASCardDesign. Today I'm going to show you how to make this card. Now it looks like there's a lot going on, but this card is a combination of two of my very recent favorite stamp sets for the holidays, and I'm going to show you how to put this all together. Now it looks like there's a lot going on, but I'm going to show you step by step how to get this look and how to create this moon, very subtle moon detail. So just stick around and I will walk you through the process, and let's get started. Okay, we're going to start off by bringing in the My Sweet Petunia Misty tool, and I'm going to add to it the Gina K Design sticky mat. And this will help hold down my cardstock while we're stamping and ink blending. And I'm going to just use a piece of white cardstock, and this measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's a quarter sheet piece of cardstock. Now, before I lay that down, this is where it kind of seems like it would be complicated, but it really isn't. So this set I got recently, and it is called Harvest of Happiness, and it has this amazing moon stamp, but it also has the coordinating stencil. So you have this masked circle stencil that will allow you to stamp this moon, and I'm going to show you step by step how this works. So I want to put my cardstock down, but I'm not going to commit yet because I want to line things up. So I have this that I'm going to use to line up the moon, and then the other stamp set that I'm going to use is the Cozy Winter Wishes. And I recently made a card video showing how to use this stamp using Northern Lights, but this time we're going to put the big moon in the background. So I am going to bring out the mask that I created using Gina K's masking magic sheets, and what I did, and I've used this multiple times. I think this will be my 5th use. And in my last video with this, I stamped it, and then I stamped it onto the masking magic sheet, and then I fussy cut it just on the roof line. Very, very easy to do, and you can use this over and over. So I'm just going to use this right now just to line things up. So I know I want the moon to kind of come up from behind the houses. So I'm going to just pretend like I might have stamped my houses here and maybe put the moon there. So that looks okay. And I actually will go ahead and stamp the houses first. So let me get this big stamp out of here. Actually, I should have just used this to line up. So let's just do that again for you. So I'm gonna see where I want this moon to be coming out from behind the houses. So I don't want it really too high up. I kind of want it to be peeking up through. So that looks good. And maybe we'll do it right like that. So then I'm just going to keep my stamp there and pull up this for now. So that's about where I want my stamp. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I just wanted to kind of get an eyeball idea of where I'm putting things. And then we'll set this aside for right now. So first thing is I want to stamp this big 3-try house, whatever you want to call it. The cozy houses, cozy winter houses. I don't know. It's just such a beautiful stamp. I don't know who designed this, but what a great idea. What a fantastic idea. And I'm just inking that with Gina K's black onyx ink. And I may have to do it more than once to get it nice and inky, nice and dark. Especially down here on these trees. Okay, so I'm going to focus right on those. Okay. And that looks pretty good. Okay. And the ink on the sticky mat will come off very easily later when we're done with just some water. Okay. So let's clean off the stamp, because I believe we are done with that. We're not going to need this anymore. We will need that. So let me put this stamp away. And we're going to come back to this stamp set in a little bit because we're going to use this wonderful Santa and Reindeer and the Merry Christmas. So we'll come back to this. And again, that's the Cozy Winter Wishes stamp set. And then now we're going to work on the moon. How do we get that moon to come up from behind the house, or to, you know, have that illusion of coming up from behind the house? That's where the mask comes in. So you just want to peel the paper off the back, and I just need the roof line, so I'm just going to go with this. And again, this is like the 5th time I'm using this, so I don't know how many more uses I have, but we'll see. I'm going to pull this down and just make sure I have the roof line perfectly lined up, and I don't want my head to get in the way. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm just going over it to make sure it's adhered down really, really well. Okay. Now in the last sample, and you really can't tell, some of this ink from before did blend in, but you just can't tell in the finished product, so don't even worry about that. I do wipe it off really well when I'm done, but a little bit of ink on it won't hurt. And then you just want to position this however high or low you want the moon. And so I think I'm going to go right about like that. And then that'll stick right down to the tacky mat or sticky mat. And then the first thing I want to do is get the background color of the moon. And the 2 colors I used for my moon, and you can use any colors. I mean, I've used reds, like shades of red to make like a blood moon. I've done a harvest moon. I mean, you could do any colors. You could do pink if you want. But I'm using both Gina K Designs inks. I did the background color in Lemon Drop. I always have these colors upside down. In Lemon Drop. And then I did the craters or the accents with Skeleton Leaves. And this is an amalgam ink. So let's go ahead and do the Lemon Drop first. Let me grab a yellow blending brush. I'm not sure. I know I used this little one for the Skeleton Leaves. And since that's an amalgam ink, I don't want to really mix it with my dye ink. So let's go ahead and bring in the Lemon Drop. I have things everywhere on this desk. Okay, and I don't want a lot. I want just a very glowy look. So I'm just gonna go around, do a light hand first, and then you can always add. Okay, and that looks good. Okay, so that is Lemon Drop. And then we will bring in the Skeleton Leaves. And then for that, we're going to pull out the stamp. So first you want to get the background, then you put the detail on. And this is super easy. You just line it up in the circle. You can kind of feel the edges catch, and you can position it however you'd like. And I'm going to go with something like that. And then we're going to pick that up. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm using a blending brush. Let's just go right with the ink pad. Oh my goodness. Sometimes you start thinking a little ahead and then you don't really pay attention to what you're doing. Okay, and I might only do once. Let's just see. Can you see that? I think we're just going to go with one time. Just leave it for that. And then you can wipe that off. All right. Now, step 2 of the moon is we can take this stencil off. Let me grab my little pick tool. And then I'll clean this later with just some rubbing alcohol and water, or a paper towel. Let me just set this aside here first. And then the other piece of that stencil is the piece that fell out when they cut the stencil, the center piece. So they put that negative piece in there, and that's what you need, because now we need to mask the moon off because we don't want to blend over it, right? So we're just gonna, again, I'm gonna have to pull this down. So I'm just lining the moon up as best I can right over, or lining the stencil up right over the moon. Okay. And then at this point, I can just take this mat out of my Misty tool. I'm gonna keep this mask on. We're not ready to uncover that yet. Not quite yet. And then we're gonna bring in some colors for the sky, okay? So let me show you what I'm gonna use. Not in that order, but these are the colors. So I'm going to use, what is this? In the Navy. Okay, so we'll use that first. And then we're gonna do Wild Lilac and Sea Glass. Okay, we'll do Sea Glass. Actually, we're gonna do that first because I wanna put a nice blue glowy look around the moon. So let's do that first. And I'm just gonna take a blending brush this time. I am gonna use a blending brush. I'm gonna tap off a little bit and I'm gonna hold the mask down and I'm just gonna start on the mask and go out a little bit, okay? With a very light hand. I want this to look like a moon glow, right? You could use yellow, any kind of shade of yellow, but I'm going with this blue hue. Okay. Okay, so that's all we need for that. And then I am going to come in with the in the Navy, and we're going to start at the top of the sky. Okay. And again, I'm going to start blending on the mat and onto the cardstock. And again, I'm going to hold this mask down. We want it fairly dark at the top, because that's like the top of the sky. It's going to be the darkest part of the night because it's further away from the moon. Go over it again to get it nice and dark. Blend it down. You could even use black onyx really up here. Just you want it real dark up there. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and come in with the, what is this, Wild Lilac. And I was playing with this a little earlier, so I'm going to just use whatever I have on my brush already and see how light or dark it is. And I'm just going to go right around, kind of preserving that blue halo around the moon, and then blending the Wild Lilac up into in the Navy. And then I'm just going to go around the moon again with the, what did I say this was? Sea Glass. Just add that glow back in. And probably come back in a little bit with the Navy, in the Navy. Just want to really make sure that's dark at the top. Okay. And you can make your sky look, whatever kind of night sky. You could do northern lights like I did in my other video. That would work. Okay, so next, we're not quite done. I'm going to bring in my ink splat, my splat box. You make some room for it. I'm not sure which way would be better for you to see. That's going to be a little awkward. Let's just go this way. I'll do the best I can to get you to see what I'm doing without getting splats everywhere. And then I'm going to do some white ink splats to make some stars. And I'm going to use Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. Get the camera to focus on that. This is a really nice product. It will dry very, very white. And I'm just putting some at the end of a chopstick that is part of my craft room, part of my tools. And I'm just going to put some on this block. It doesn't take much at all. Okay. All right. Then you do want to take a paper towel right away and wipe this off. You don't want this to dry. It's kind of like paint. Okay. And then go ahead and cap this. I've had this jar for about 2 years, but if you cap it really well, I have some press and seal to really seal it. It lasts. And then I'm going to put a little bit of water on my block. Okay. And then I want to take a round paintbrush. This is a number 5 round, but you can really do anything and use anything. And then you just want to mix a little bit with that water. Okay. And then I always like to tap off a little bit first so I don't come in with big heavy globs, and then just go ahead and add your stars, as many or as few as you'd like. Okay, that's all I'm going to do because I want to show you another technique that I just saw. Let me get this bleed proof wipe off of my paintbrush first of all before it hardens and dries on there. I'll wash it off later. Wipe my block off and get all of this off. Okay. All right. So this is what we have so far. Very pretty, huh? Actually, the houses would look pretty with ink blended like that, but when I peel this mask off, they're gonna be white, so it's not gonna look quite like this. Okay, so I recently watched a video of Mindy Egan, and if you haven't checked her channel out, I'll put a link in my description, and I also will put a list of all the supplies I'm using in my description. I do that at every video, but do check her out. She did a Christmas, like a window scene, I think, or a Christmas scene with some Christmas trees, very pretty bottle die cut trees, and she did this ink splat with the sky just like this, but then she took I think a gold pen. I don't have a gold pen, but I have a white jelly roll pen, and she just added more dots, and it made it look like the Milky Way. And I thought that was so cool. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that the best I can. So I just want to, let me grab a piece of scrap paper here, and I just want to get my pen started. But it was really a cool effect. So kudos to you, Mindy. I always learn so much watching her videos. Her and Gina K and Kathy Zilski, and then all my other friends too. My goodness, there's just so many. So many. We got Geraldine Rose, and oh my goodness. There's a lot. If you look at who I'm following, you'll see, especially on my Instagram. They're all there. But on YouTube is the only place I do videos. Goodness, I can only keep track of videos in one spot. But anyway, I am just adding dots all over randomly, kind of in a concentrated area. Because if you've ever seen the Milky Way, it is like a line of, like a band of stars, right? It's so pretty. I hope everybody gets a chance to see it at some point in their lives. All right, I think we're ready to peel and reveal. So let's go ahead and take the moon mask off first. See that? Really cool, huh? And then the mask will clean up super, super easily if you just add water. You just spray it with water. I don't want to spray it near my cardstock, but I'll show you here. You just give it a good spray, and all that bleed proof white, all of it just turns to liquid. You just wipe it off. And then your stencil and mask is good to go for the next time. Now, let's go ahead and peel our masking magic off. And that is what we're left with. Isn't that gorgeous? It really does make a difference. And before I go any further, I'm going to take my towel. It's just very lightly damp, not much at all. And I'm just going to wipe off any of this excess ink. Okay, I'm not going to worry. It doesn't need to be clean. I just want to get the top layer off. And then I will go ahead and put my backing paper back on and line it up best I can. And I'm just going to save that again for the next time. And I just store it right in with the packaging that I have for my stamp set. So I'll just put it right back in here. I think I have a few more uses for that. Okay, so the nice thing is this sticky mat really, it's really a time saver because you just keep your project on it till you're basically done. I'm not quite ready to take it off because we need to do some stamping now. And I'm going to use, like I said, this Santa with the reindeer. Let's get that out. I'm just going to do some simple stamping on this. So, you know, we're at this point, we're almost done with this card. It really didn't take too much of an effort. It's just stamping and ink blending, but you just have to, you know, practice and follow along. You can watch this video again if you have similar stamps to this. There's other moon stamps. If you don't have Gina K's Masking Magic sheets, you can use any kind of masking paper that's low tack, or you can just take a piece of cardstock and a circle die and make your own and just hold it down, you know, just make sure it doesn't move on you. But yeah, you can duplicate this quite easily. All right, is that where I want my, yeah, I think that's going to be good placement. Okay, so let's go ahead and stamp the Santa and the reindeer. Okay, and I'm going to stamp him 3 times because I really want this black ink to be very vibrant, like a true silhouette. Okay. And we'll go ahead and clean that stamp off. And then we'll grab the Merry Christmas from the stamp set. And just put that right there. I could have stamped them together, but for placement, when I'm doing something like this, I like to do them separate, just so I can make sure that, you know, I can get it down a little more snug if I'm doing it separately. And that looks good. And again, I'm going to stamp this down a few times as well. That's the nice thing about the Misty tools, whether you have the regular size or the mini. Now, when I was starting out making cards, I got the mini because I wasn't sure, but I should have got the regular size first. If you don't have one and you're thinking about getting one, get the regular size because the mini Misty is good for USA 2, maybe a little bit bigger. But if you want to do 5x7 cards, you're going to need this one. And this can do them all. So, okay. That's my tip of the day. All right, everyone. We're on the home stretch. So let's carefully remove this. Hang on a second. Carefully remove this. Actually, I'll show you an easier way. Just bend the sticky mat and the cardstock will lift right off. Okay. And then I'll show you this, how easy this will clean off if you just add water. That ink just totally dissolves. And I'm just going to wipe it down with a towel. And I'll give it a good cleaning later, but that's pretty much how you do that. Okay. I think we're done stamping. All we need to do now is put this card together and do some die cutting. All right. So let's bring in the big shot. I may have to zoom out a little for you. And I've already cut my matte layer, and I'm using black. I really don't have a lot of different colors of cardstock, and I just didn't have anything that would coordinate with this, so I'm just going with black. But I'm using Master Layouts 1, which is a die cut set that just cuts out, you know, perfectly measured out panels. You could, you know, you could hand cut it if you're good at, you know, all the measuring and all that, but this, I just find it's easier for me. So I've already cut out the matte layer. So just put that down. And then this is the panel layer. That's what we need for this. So we just need to figure out where we want to crop it. And I think we're going to go just like that. Right about like that. And my plates are warped, so I got to be very careful that I don't move things around. And then we're just going to run it through. And then just carefully remove the tape. This is mint tape, and it comes up pretty easily and doesn't really stick too much to the cardstock, so it doesn't tear it. All right, and then we have our panel. And then I thought as a final touch, I would add some light to the windows, and that is super easy to do as well. So where is my block? Let me find my block, because I wanted to bring that in. I'm not sure what I did with it. It's probably right in front of my face. Here it is. Okay, so I have brought in Tangerine Twist from Gina K. And this is kind of a nice, like a nice orange glowy color. And I'm going to use a finer round brush. This is a #1 round. Oh, I have ink all over me. I'm a mess today. And I am going to be adding water. Now this is just plain cardstock. It's not watercolor or watercolor paper. So I'm just adding a little tiny bit of water. And you do want a paper towel always. I'm going to grab my messy paper towel, and I'm just going to pick up some of the color, mix it in with the water, and then just always tap off a little bit first. And then you can just go in and color in these windows. And you can make them as light or dark as you want. You can go over them twice. But it's just such a small, scant amount of water. So it's not really going to warp your paper or anything like that. But it just adds a little something to the windows. Makes them a little glowy. And it's very, very easy to do. You can see, I mean, I'm not being too fussy here. I'm not really worried about getting every little inch. There's some white space in those windows, and we'll do the door down here too. And I think that's it. And there we have it. And see, it just adds a little something. It really is a cozy winter wishes card, isn't it? I love it. I love this set. Okay, let's clear out some of these inks and put this card together. All right, so I have my black card matte layer and my base, or my panel. We're going to glue the panel onto the matte layer. I'm putting it over here on the white so you can see. I'm just eyeballing it just to make sure there's some even margins all the way around. Okay, and then we will glue all of this to the card base, and we'll have a finished card. And you know, this is a really fun technique, and it's not difficult. Just like I said, watch the video, play along with me. You can pause it. It's just, you know, the more you do it, the easier it is. The first time I did it, I will admit, I was, you know, a little like, okay, what do I do next? I'm not sure. But yeah, I've done a few of these now, and it's really not that difficult. So that's the finished card. The moon is very subtle. If I wanted the craters to show up a little bit more, I would have just stamped it twice. I just did one stamping on that. But that's it. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I hope you give me a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I'd love to have you join. I'm thankful for each and every one of you. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. I'm trying to post a few more during the holiday season, so you'll see more than just the 2 a week that I normally do. So, all right, I thank you again for joining. Until the next time, make it a great day.